Today is the 3rd of September. I am very glad to share this message with you, and I know it is going to be of great blessings to your life because it has to do with the gift of time to a kingdom citizen. In my introduction, I'm going to say, gift of time are forests of divine and purposed endowment that were packaged in a time well used. They include heavenly treasures and resources that we were purposed to lean on at an appropriate time in our life. And they are material resources without which we may not afford to be on track to our destiny. In the beginning, before the sin of man, it was like God wanted to make man live for eternity, but man disobeyed him in the Garden of Eden, causing him to charge man to go back to the soil where he was made through casting infinitely unbreakable spell upon Adam and his generations. Hence, eternity was broken. It was from this point that time was introduced to control creation. By God breaking eternity in human's life, or by causing man to die, he was indirectly telling all creations that he has already fragmented the lifetime of every living creature, depositing assignments and potentials at every stage. That is why the best definition of time is a periodical interference of eternity in the life of what God have created so that they will not live forever. This was probably meant to caution men to maximize their limited time. God even submitted this in Ecclesiastes chapter 9 verse 10. According to NIV, whatever your hands finds to do, do it with all your might. For in the realm of the dead where you are going, there is neither working, nor planning, nor knowledge, nor wisdom. Look at time as nature and God visiting you to fulfill his obligations within his promised season. In Genesis chapter 1 verse 14, God introduced time in form of seasons and durations, and later split it into seconds, days, months, and years. Calendar is therefore a scheme used to show eternity broken into pieces, and it helps us to function within time. In a greater portion of my life, I used to think the greatest tool for prosperity was mammon. Mammon is money. I ran after mammon with all my strength, my mind, and my soul, even rendering both professional services and physical commitment to look for it. But each and every time I made this money, it never seemed to give me the form of fulfillment my heart desires. It was until one day I recalled the day my old father sat me down under a tree and said, "My son, you will make all the money you need in life, but still remain a poor farmer, but still remain a poor manager, but still remain someone not trusted by peers in what you say, or not loved and valued, but still remain someone not given opportunities to speak in the public, or not delegated to represent, or not entrusted at all in times of crisis." Then I asked him, I said, "Daddy, what else do you think I'm still left with?" He replied in boldness, "You are left with the gift of time." Then he started lecturing me about time. I kept quiet. I listened to what he lectured me on, and I was able to draw conclusions. I discovered there are two top keys to understanding time. Number one, time speaks to life just like thirst calls for water by itself. Time releases its values to your life if your life supplies what it has called. Everything that has a major role to play in your life but not presented or done within its appropriate time becomes a toxin in your life in a later hour. When God interfered eternal life in a man, he fragmented his entire lifespan, and at every point of fragmentations, he put a life treasure but kept them dormant so that you should activate them to strengthen you as you transition to the next stage of life. To understand this, think about a project manager who planned ways of overcoming challenges in different stages of his project implementation, but never implements them appropriately. That is to say, he implements ways of overcoming challenges in the first project stage, in the second or third project stage, hence resulting into applying weaker strategies to solve complicated conditions. This is atypical of a man who is making decisions in times of working. The danger of doing things before and after time is the same. And the second principle I got, how much time you spend working is how much your life will gain, and vice versa. What you spend your time doing is what your life feeds on. Think about how many hours you spend doing productive things out of the 24 hours in a day. If two people have been entrusted with 24 million each, with a promise that $1 million will be dropped off their account after every 1 hour if not used. You realize that at the end of the 24 hours, one person is different from the other person financially because they have not used their time similarly. It is the same. Everyone has been given opportunity to have 24 hours without any biasness. In fact, if there is something which God has given to mankind without being biased, it's time. But you find that at the end of the 24 hours, 2 different people will have different achievements, meaning whatever you do with your time is what matters. How you use your time is what determines your life. In Africa right now, as it stands, the minimum hours an individual should use doing productive work out of the 24 hours not to be a beggar is 4 hours. With 4 hours, you can take care of yourself but not a family. In order to take care of your family, you need to work for 6 hours every day except on Sunday because Sunday is a day for prayer. With 6 hours, you can take care of your family but cannot afford quality education, medication, and accommodation for your family. In order to afford that, you have to work 11 hours. With 11 hours of work, you can afford quality education, yes, medication, and accommodation, but may not leave a footmark in the world when you are gone. In order to do that, or in order for you to leave a legacy and a footmark that the whole world will know, you need to work for 18 hours and rest for 6 hours. Listen, the people who are working for 4 hours are spending 20 hours every day not doing anything and suppressing their rewards, treasures, values, blessings, which are encapsulated within their 20 hours every day. Such people are spending 25 days sleeping and moving around and working for 5 days in a month. Remember, the rate at which you are extravagant with your time is the rate at which you finish your life. Now my message is like this. The reason why you feel insignificant and deprived is because your extravagancy with time has already affected your life. You have to increase your working hours every day. Then time will release its pool of wealth that will overshadow your sufferings and redeem you back on your feet. Because time was meant by God to give back values to mankind after its full exploitation. When you are still alive, it means you have got time, and that time symbolizes God's willingness to give you another chance after failure, meaning after failing, you can still make it again. It is the only sign that God is not yet done with you in particular, because people without these opportunities are now without time. They are in the grave, but you've got this opportunity still. After concentrating on these lectures for 10 minutes, I discovered that much as I was making money, I was either spending the money late or before I should have spent it. I was supporting the poor when the grace was no more, even though they actually called for help. I was always in the wrong place when time required me to be somewhere else. I kept on postponing what I should have done at the request of time. Instead of being in the church on Sunday, I was either at a pork joint or watching the latest series on Z-World. Instead of eating dark meat, I persisted on counting beans. But I thank God that I will never make that mistake again.